Grandpa took it. My son said those 3 words while his daughter stood in my kitchen with both hands wrapped around the dented green cash box I had repaired for her. $500, Gavin said. That was Tessa's money. You were the only other person who knew where she kept it. The box sat open on the table. Its little brass latch was bent, the way it had been since my wife found it at a yard sale and brought it home for our granddaughter. Tessa had painted one small white star inside the lid. I could see it from where I stood. Gavin set a folded sheet of paper beside the box. Tomorrow night, in front of Marlene, you will sign a statement that you took it and you will pay it back, he said. Then Tessa will know exactly who she can trust. I did not unfold the page. He had not come to find $500. He had come to make me wear its disappearance. I did not look at Gavin first. I looked at Tessa. Her face was pale. Her eyes were fixed on the box, not on me. Did anyone ask you to say something before I got here? I asked. Gavin's chair scraped the floor. Dad, do not start acting like she is confused. The money is gone. I asked Tessa a question. Tessa's mouth opened, then closed again. I pulled out the chair beside mine. You can sit here, honey. No one gets to question you alone. Not me, not your father, not anybody. That was when I knew this was not really about $500. The money mattered. It was the deposit Tessa had saved for an electrician training program at the community college. She had worked weekends at the garden center, put birthday cash into the green box, and counted every bill twice before returning it to the closet shelf in my garage. Gavin did not arrive at my house like a man who had lost his daughter's money. He arrived like a man who had already written the ending. I want it back, he said. And I want Tessa to know you cannot just take from her because you think you have earned the right. The words settled hard in the room. For a second, I remembered Gavin at 12, standing beside the same kitchen table with a broken radio in his hands. He had dropped it while trying to fix it. Before I could speak, he had said, "I did not mean to," and started crying. Back then, he was afraid of disappointing me. Now he was trying to make me disappoint his daughter. I did not take Tessa's money, I said, but I am not going to make her wait for her deposit while adults argue over it. I took my wallet from the counter and opened the calendar on my phone. Tessa, when is the deposit due? Friday, she said quietly. It will be paid directly to the program today. Gavin laughed once, without humor. So you are just buying your way out of it? No, I said. I am keeping your daughter's future out of your accusation. His face tightened. You always do this. You make yourself the hero and everyone else the problem. I looked at the green box again. The latch was not only bent, the tiny screw beneath it was scratched bright, as if someone had removed it and put it back in a hurry. I had spent 34 years supervising maintenance crews at the county hospital. I knew the difference between something worn by use and something disturbed by a person hoping no one would notice. But knowing was not proving. I will pay the deposit, I said. Then I will find out what happened to the money. Gavin folded his arms. You think I am lying? I think a missing thing and a proven theft are not the same. He picked up his car keys. Fine, find out, but do not expect me to let this slide because you are my father. He said it as if being my son had made him less responsible. When he left, he did not ask Tessa to come with him. He only told her, "We will talk at home." The front door closed. Tessa remained beside the table. I waited until the sound of Gavin's truck had faded before I spoke again. Did he take the money? I asked. She shook her head at first. Then she looked at the window. I do not know, she said. That is a fair answer. He said you took it. When? Before we opened the box. The kitchen went very still. I did not ask her to repeat herself. I did not fill the silence with the answer I wanted. I simply slid a glass of water toward her. Tell me exactly what happened, I said. Tessa touched the rim but did not drink. Yesterday, Dad came into my room. He said he needed to check the box because he thought I left it in the garage. Then this morning he said you had probably taken the money because you were mad about me going into electrical work instead of university. Did he say I had taken it before you both opened it today? She nodded. He said you would deny it. He said not to let you make me feel guilty. That hurt in a way I had not expected, not because Gavin had called me a thief. I had survived worse words from people who did not know me. It hurt because he had put his own voice inside his daughter's head and called it protection. I reached for the green box. Tessa held it tighter for a second, then gave it to me. The box was lighter than I remembered. It had once held the kind of treasures children collect: polished stones, a movie ticket, a key that fit nothing. After my wife died, Tessa had asked if she could use it for the money she earned. Grandma would say the box needed a job, she had told me. I had fixed the latch and put a strip of green felt inside the bottom. Now the felt was wrinkled. Under it was a thin receipt, folded into quarters. It was from a hardware store 2 towns over. The date was 3 days earlier. It listed a replacement latch, a packet of small screws, and cash payment. I kept the receipt in my palm without opening it. Did you put this here? I asked. Tessa shook her head. Did your dad ever take the box somewhere else? I do not know. He said the old latch was loose. That was possible. It was also convenient. I did not show Tessa the receipt. She had already been made to carry more than she should. Come with me, I said. We are going to make sure your deposit is safe. At the community college, I did not tell the woman at the desk about the missing money. I gave her Tessa's name, paid the deposit by card, and asked for a receipt in Tessa's folder. When she stepped away to use the restroom, I watched Tessa run her fingers over the printed confirmation. It is really done, she asked. It is really done. Even if the money does not come back, the money should come back. But your place in that program should not depend on whether 2 grown men know how to behave. She looked at me then. Her eyes were wet, but she did not cry. Dad said you think I am wasting my time with that program. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I think you are good with your hands, I said. Your grandmother was good with hers too. That is not a small thing. Tessa pressed the receipt against her chest. For the first time since Gavin had walked into my kitchen, she smiled. I had watched Tessa earn nearly every bill that went into that box. She had watered flowers before school, swept the garden center after closing, and repaired her own bicycle with a borrowed wrench when the chain slipped. She was not saving because I had told her a trade was noble. She was saving because the first time she helped me replace an outlet cover in the garage. She said she liked work that made a room safer when you were done. My wife had heard her say it and smiled from the doorway. That is a useful kind of happiness, she had told me later. After my wife died, Gavin began talking about Tessa's future as if it were a brochure: university, a campus far away, a career that sounded impressive at family parties. Tessa never argued with him directly. She only brought her books to my garage and asked whether I thought she could learn the things she saw electricians do. I had told her the truth. Learning a trade was hard. Being good with your hands would not make every choice easy, but no honest work needed an apology. That was why Gavin's accusation had felt so carefully aimed. If he could make me look like the old man who resented Tessa's plan, then he could turn her own dream into a reason to mistrust me. He would not need to explain why the money disappeared. He only needed everyone to accept the story that made his disappearance from it seem natural. I did not know whether Gavin had thought all of that through. Most people who build a lie do not see the whole house. They only see the first wall going up and decide it will protect them. The smile did not fix anything. It only gave me a reason to keep the argument from swallowing her whole. That afternoon, I drove to the hardware store, named on the folded receipt. I did not ask anyone to search private records. I bought a replacement latch for an old shed door and stood near the counter while the cashier made conversation about the rainy weather. The shop was small. Behind the counter, a pegboard held keys, padlocks, and screw packets. On the wall was a security screen showing the entrance, the aisles, and the register. I asked whether the replacement latch I held was difficult to install. Only if you put it on a box you should not be touching. The cashier said with a laugh. I looked at the receipt again. The model number matched. That brand holds up, I asked. Fine for a toolbox, he said. Most people buy it for old cash boxes or cabinets. The receipt was paid in cash. It did not prove Gavin had bought it. I did not need it to yet. It proved the box had not simply come open from age. I put the latch in my pocket and drove home. On the way, I called Marlene, my older sister. She had always been the one person in the family who could sit through a hard meal without trying to turn it into a courtroom or a hymn. Can you come for dinner tomorrow? I asked. Is this a real dinner or one of your bad news dinners? The second kind, she sighed. Then make coffee too. That evening, Gavin texted me Sunday. 6 o'clock. Marlene should hear this too. I want you to admit what you did in front of Tessa. It was not a request. It was a stage direction. I read it twice, then set the phone beside the green cash box. Gavin wanted an audience. He wanted the accusation to become the first story everyone heard, because first stories are hard to pull apart. I could have sent him the hardware receipt. I could have told Nora's mother, called his friends, or gone to his apartment and demanded he empty his pockets. Instead, I wrote one sentence. I will be there. Tessa will not be questioned alone. His answer came back almost immediately. You are already coaching her. That was the first thing he had said that made me afraid for him. Not angry. Afraid. A man who tells himself a child can be coached into honesty is already too comfortable asking that child to lie. Later that night, Tessa called from her bedroom. She did not say hello at first. I could hear a television somewhere in the apartment and Gavin moving dishes in the kitchen. Grandpa, she whispered, Dad says I should tell Aunt Marlene you were mad because I did not want to go to university. Do you want to tell her that? No, it is not true. Then do not say it. He says if I do not, everyone will think I am taking your side. I closed my eyes. There are no sides for you to take, Tessa. There is only the truth. You can say you do not know where the money is. You can say you heard something. You can say you do not want to answer. All of those are allowed. She was silent so long I thought the call had dropped. Then I heard a floorboard creak on her end of the line. Gavin's voice came from somewhere near her door, low enough that he probably believed I could not make out the words. Remember what you told me, he said. Do not let Grandpa turn this around. Tessa drew in one quick breath. I heard her bedroom door close before she spoke again. Then she asked, What if Dad gets mad? Then he is responsible for being mad. You are not responsible for making a lie comfortable for him. I did not tell her to leave the apartment or come to my house. I did not want to turn her into a messenger between two adults. I told her the only thing I could promise. Tomorrow, I will make sure no one asks you questions without me and Aunt Marlene there. Okay, she said. After we hung up, I put the green box on the workbench in the garage. I could have sent Gavin the receipt, cancelled dinner, and told him I knew what he had done. But then Tessa would still be left with the sentence he had planted in her. She would still believe truth was something adults traded when the room got uncomfortable. So I made stew the next day and decided on 3 questions. When Gavin first said I took the money, why the cash box needed a new latch, and why he had drafted a confession before anyone had looked for the money, I would ask them without a speech. And he would have to answer them in front of the child he had tried to coach. Marlene arrived early carrying a loaf of bread and the expression of a woman who had raised 2 sons and had no patience left for nonsense. She looked at the green box on the counter. Is that what this is about? $500 that should have been Tessa's deposit. Marlene's face softened. Is the deposit paid? Yes, good. Then the money is still serious, but the girl is not stranded. That was why I had called her. At 6, Gavin came in with Tessa behind him. He had shaved, changed into a button-down shirt, and carried a manila envelope beneath his arm. He looked prepared for a bank appointment, not a family dinner. Tessa wore a gray sweatshirt and kept one hand inside the pocket. Gavin did not greet Marlene. He set the envelope on the table. I brought a written list, he said. $500 missing. Dad had access. Tessa had access. I did not. Marlene looked at him over the rim of her glasses. You had access to your father's garage. I did not know where the box was. You know now. He ignored her. I want Dad to pay Tessa back and admit he crossed a line. Then we can decide whether he should have a key to the garage anymore. The sentence was so clean, I almost admired its cruelty. Gavin wanted the money replaced, my name stained, and my access to my own garage treated like a privilege he could vote on. I poured stew into bowls. You may eat first, I said. Then we can talk. I am not hungry. Tessa is. He looked at her, then sat down. For a few minutes the only sound was spoons against bowls. Marlene buttered her bread. Tessa took small bites. Gavin watched me as if he expected a confession to rise out of the steam. When he could no longer stand the quiet, he slid the green cash box toward me. Open it, he said. I did. The white star inside the lid was chipped now. I touched it with my thumb. Your daughter showed me a receipt under the felt, I said. Gavin's eyes moved to Tessa. She looked down. What receipt, huh? He asked. A receipt for a replacement latch. Bought 3 days before the money went missing. His mouth opened, then closed. That could be from anything. It could. I placed the hardware store receipt on the table. Then I laid the replacement latch beside it. This is the same model. Marlene picked it up but did not say anything. Gavin's face reddened. You drove around looking for something to pin on me. I drove around looking for what happened to a box in my garage. You are unbelievable. No, Marlene said. Unbelievable would be accusing your father before you found out whether the latch had been tampered with. Gavin stared at her. I did not tamper with anything. He pulled the same folded page from the manila envelope, its crease still visible, and laid it beside the bowls. I came prepared to make this easy, he said. You sign this, pay Tessa back, and admit you took the money without asking. Then I do not have to tell the rest of the family that you cannot be trusted around her savings. Marlene reached for the paper before I did. It was not an apology. It was a statement written in the cold language Gavin used whenever he wanted something to sound settled. It said I had removed the money from the green box, that I had agreed to repay it, and that I would no longer have unsupervised access to Tessa's belongings. At the bottom was a blank line for my signature. Tessa saw it over Marlene's shoulder. Dad, she said. You wrote that already. Gavin did not look at her, because Grandpa needs to do the right thing. Before you knew what happened, Marlene asked, I knew enough. That was the plan laid plain on the table. Gavin did not just want the $500 back. He wanted a signed story. He wanted something he could show whenever I questioned him, something that would turn his accusation into a fact I had supposedly admitted. I pushed the paper back across the table. I will not sign a confession to make your lie easier to manage, I said. Then explain the missing money, he snapped. Then explain the new latch, I said. He pushed his chair back. I do not have to explain every receipt in the world. You took the money. Tessa told me you were the only person she trusted with it. Tessa's spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. I saw the fear cross her face. Not the fear of me, the fear of saying the wrong thing in front of her father. I put my hand flat on the table. Tessa, I said, you do not have to protect anyone's feelings tonight. You only have to tell the truth about what you saw and heard. Gavin turned toward her. Do not let him make you feel like you are betraying me, he said. There it was. Marlene set down her spoon. Gavin, she said. Stop talking to her. He looked at me, then at his daughter. His confidence had gone thin around the edges. I am her father, and that is why you should have protected her from this, I said. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Tessa lifted her head. Her voice was small, but it did not shake. Dad told me Grandpa took it before he even opened the green box. The room did not explode. It simply stopped moving. Gavin blinked at her. Tessa, he said. She kept looking at me. He came into my room Saturday night and said, Grandpa found out you are going to waste your money on that electrician thing. so he took it back. Then he told me not to let you talk me into believing something else. Gavin's face lost its color. Marlene leaned back in her chair. You knew the money was gone before the box was opened, she said. It was a guess. Gavin said. No, I said. It was a story you gave your daughter before you needed her to believe it. He reached for the manila envelope. His hand trembled. I borrowed the money, he said. I was going to put it back. From whom? Marlene asked. He did not answer. Tessa's money is not a drawer you borrow from, I said. I had a payment due. You had your own savings. It was not enough. So you took from your daughter and tried to make me replace it. His eyes came up to mine then. For the first time all evening, he looked less like a prosecutor and more like a man standing in the mess he had made. I thought if you paid it, I could get through the week, he said. Then I could put it back before anyone knew. And when I did not, I panicked. The word was true. It was also too small. He had panicked. Then he had moved the latch, coached his daughter, gathered our family for dinner, and asked me to confess to a theft I did not commit. Panic might have been where it began. It was not where he chose to stop. Tessa pushed the green box away from herself. I do not want to keep money in there anymore, she said. That was the sentence that hurt me most, not because the box mattered more than the money. It did not. But because a place my wife had repaired with love had become the center of a lie. I picked it up carefully. You do not have to keep money in it. It can be something else. Gavin looked at the table. I will pay it back, he said. You will, I replied. But you will not hand cash to Tessa in a hallway and call it finished. He looked up. What do you mean? I paid her deposit. The $500 you took goes into an account in her name, with her and me able to see it. You will put in a set amount every week until it is restored. You do not get to control my money. No, I said. I get to decide what happens under my roof and with my help. You chose to use your daughter's future and my name as a hiding place. Those two things are closed to you now. Marlene nodded once. Gavin's jaw worked as if he had more to say. Then he saw Tessa's face and stopped. I took the garage key from the ring beside the fridge. For now, you will not have this, I said. Not because I think you will steal every tool I own. Because trust cannot live beside a locked box and a rehearsed accusation. He looked at the key in my palm. That is my workshop too. It was your workspace. It is my garage. When you can be there without using it to hide from your life, we can talk again. He did not shout. I was grateful for that. He only stood, put the manila envelope under his arm, and walked toward the door. Tessa rose too. Dad, she said. He stopped with his hand on the knob. She did not ask him to stay. She did not apologize for telling the truth. I still want to be an electrician, she said. Gavin closed his eyes. When he turned around, his face had changed. I know, he said. You should. Then he left. I did not follow him into the work. I did not call after him with the receipt or the unsigned statement in my hand. He had heard his daughter. Anything I added while he was walking away would only give him another base to blame. Marlene waited until the truck turned the corner before she picked up the page Gavin had written. He was going to make you sign this? She asked. That appears to have been the plan. She folded the page once and put it back inside the manila envelope. Keep it, she said, not to punish him, in case he decides tomorrow that this dinner happened differently. That was sensible. It was also sad that it was sensible. I photographed the page, the latch receipt, and the cash box, with the felt lifted. Then I put them in a kitchen drawer. Facts do not always need an audience to remain facts. Before bed, I wrote Gavin a message. Tessa's deposit is paid. Beginning next Friday, you will repay the $500 into the account she can see. You will not discuss this with her, as if she caused it. The garage key stays with me until further notice. I stared at the screen before sending it. The message was not revenge. It did not say he was a bad son or a bad father. It did not threaten to tell his employer, his landlord, or every cousin who would enjoy having an opinion. It named the money, the child, and the boundary. That was enough. Gavin did not reply that night. Marlene took the empty bowls to the sink, even though I told her not to. Tessa sat across from me with the community college receipt folded in her hand. Did I make him hate me? She asked. No, I said. You made him hear something he did not want to hear. Those are different things. She looked at the green box. Should I use it for tools? I felt my throat tighten. For tools, like wire strippers. Small ones, or the screws from my first project. I turned the box over in my hands. The latch was scratched and the old green paint was flaking around the corners. Yes, I said. That sounds like exactly the right job for it. The next day, I removed the old latch, not because I wanted to erase what happened, but because it no longer needed to keep secrets. I polished the dent in a soft cloth. Tessa painted a new white star beside the old one, slightly larger and not quite straight. She chose a simple flap that closed without a key. Tools do not need to be hidden, she said. No, I replied. They need to be ready. Gavin did not come by for 2 weeks. He sent the first repayment through the bank transfer. Tessa had said it. It was smaller than I expected, but it arrived on the day he promised. The second came the following Friday. Then the third. I did not call him to praise him for paying back money he should never have taken. I let the pattern speak for itself. Marlene called every few days to ask whether I was all right. I am, I told her. That was mostly true. A father does not stop being a father because he takes back a key. Some part of me still listened for Gavin's truck in the driveway. Some part of me still wanted to tell him exactly how to fix his business, his debt, his temper, and the frightened look that came over his face when he ran out of lies. But I had spent too many years mistaking rescue for love. This time, love meant leaving him room to do the next honest thing himself. Tessa began her electrical classes in September. On her first day, she came to my house wearing work boots that looked too stiff and a shirt with the program's name across the chest. The green box was tucked under her arm. When I opened it, it held a pair of safety glasses, a pencil, a little roll of tape, and the community college receipt she still carried with her. "Grandpa," she said, "do you think Grandma would have liked this?" I looked at the crooked white stars inside the lid. "Your grandmother liked people who learned how things worked," I told her. "She would have loved this." Tessa smiled. Then a truck turned into the driveway. Gavin stepped out slowly. He looked at the green box in Tessa's hands before he looked at me. "I brought the next payment," he said. "You can transfer it," I replied. "I know." He stood there with his hands empty at his sides. I also wanted to see her first day. Tessa looked at me. I did not answer for her. After a moment, she said, "You can take a picture, but do not make it about you." Gavin nodded. "I will not." He took one photograph, just Tessa, her boots, the green box, and the sun on the porch rail. Then he handed her phone back. He did not ask for the garage key. He did not ask me for a loan. He did not tell anyone a new version of the old story. He only said goodbye. After he drove away, Tessa set the green box on the passenger seat of her car. The metal was still dented. The first white star was still chipped. But the box no longer held money someone could turn into a weapon. It held the first tools of a girl who had learned that the truth did not make her disloyal. It made her free. And that was worth more than $500.